Hello, football fans, and welcome to our Copa America final review show. We will obviously review the final, discuss all the big talking points to come out of Copas, and have a bit of a laugh along the way. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy our final special on the Copa America on the Corner Flag podcast. All right, gents, before we do discuss the final, I do want to quickly talk about Marcelo Bielsa's press conference. He came out and absolutely slaughtered everybody. He said a few times, I didn't want to say these things, but oh my days.
I said more than I promised I would say, blah, blah, blah. I promised myself I would say, and then he went on an absolute rant.
Furious. So he hammered everybody. If you don't know Marcelo Bielsa, he's the Uruguayan coach, and it wasn't just after they got knocked out in the semi-final, it was before the third place playoff.
And he's Argentinian as well.
He is Argentinian, and he's inspired, your Pep Guardiolas, your Gallardos, your Pochettinos, your Simeones, all these guys. He's very well respected in that realm. He pretty much had a big blow-up about a few of the things here. So, Brad, Bull, Danny, we'll dive into this first, and then we'll just go into the actual game. So, If you didn't see, after the semi-final, Colombian fans had made their way into the Uruguayan families section, and the Uruguayan players were forced to go up there and defend their families. And there was, a lot of chat about Darwin Nunez, especially because he was at the forefront, and how the Colombian fans were lucky that it was him.
Fine priest.
Because he didn't hit the target at all. It was pretty terrible that there was no security there, and Bielsa touched a lot about that. He spoke about the conditions of the pitch, saying that CONMEBOL, who's the overarching organisation, had come out and told everyone to say how amazing the pitches were. Oh, wow. The referees were coming out saying the pitches were great when, he's like, I have evidence they were laid 3 days before the first game. Apparently the training facilities are terrible. Bolivia could not train. Their training
trained the entire tournament, which is incredible.
Was it that bad? So,
but he even came out to say, well, no one cares because it's Bolivia, so no one said anything, right? But if it was Messi and co, there would have been a bit more uproar, right, basically.
And on that, he talks about the smaller nations, and he blew up about CONMEBOL when Brazil were denied a penalty against Colombia. CONMEBOL put a statement out saying how it was incorrect and blah, 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 all this stuff. And he said, but all the time, the smaller nations, suffered an injustice was his translated word. That, nothing happened there. So he was being asked about the sanctions against his players for going up into the stands, and his response was pretty much, the sanctions should be for the people who allowed this to happen. No security, no police, all that. So
what were the sanctions?
Nothing's come out as of yet.
I think that it was decided to leave it all and not go in it because there was talks about Nunez not being allowed to play in the last game, and he ended up playing. So whether or not that's a talk for later on, and they may receive suspensions later on, because yes, horrible situations, and players were forced to fight and for their own families, which they shouldn't have to do straight after a game of football. So there should be met somewhere in between. At the same time, players...
Not only after a game of football that you've lost too. Where your emotions are already high regardless of where it is, vying to get into a final as well. It's properly warranted. But the big question is around, over in the States, these guys have got top-notch facilities. They got, lots of dollars. They got all these things that sort of add all up, and then you get all this information coming through from a top-tier coach that says, hey, look, this is what it was, in the complete opposite spectrum. It's pretty tough to hear for someone that's about to host a World Cup.
Well, he called CONMEBOL a plague of liars. So he's obviously going to face some repercussions for this. It's just interesting that was the takeaway from before the final, before the third place playoff, before the final even happened, and the World Cup is heading there. So they've got a lot to fix, and I'm sure you guys have seen the footage of people trying to sneak into the games through the air vents.
Yes, typical South Americans. And how doing anything they can to get in there without paying, right?
Well, the final. We're talking about, is this an American or South American? Don't blame us South Americans.
well, they were saying the final was delayed over an hour.
Correct.
Because of so many people getting... There were people jumping fences, getting wet, and they were just not ready. Like, you just think maybe the Americans have not dealt with the Latinos before. They didn't know what was going to happen.
They've had some major sporting events in that country.
But that's what I say. That's what I think.
Happen.
I got judged for blowing up.
Did they underestimate?
They must have.
What it was going to be like?
They must have. And I got judged for blowing up about the halftime show.
For the soccer of hands.
They did a 25... Football everywhere around the world, World Cup, local league, whatever. It's a 15-minute halftime break. Yep. They did 25 minutes. So Shakira could come perform, and I was waiting
She
for
could
that.
come and lip sync.
Lip sync, yeah.
We're gonna do that for the World Cup as well.
Like 25 minutes is just. I got people looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, we just don't do that.
But this is the thing, right? This is American culture where they have all these things. This is where they get their entertainment. People aren't paying to come and watch the sporting event because they don't really care about it.
No.
They're not football enthusiasts, right? They're all about like, oh, I'd rather watch Shakira at halftime and all these different things. Oh, let's get some more money through the gates and let's have this show that parades around it. It's typical with their NFL style and all those kind of things that they have these massive halftime shows. How are you supposed to get yourself up and about as a player?
Look, unfortunately, due to this part of our time as football fans, that so much of it is prevalent around the US and we're exposed to so much more of the US, they are unfortunately going to have a lot of influence, and I think it will become the norm, these sorts of things. You're already seeing the fact that in the MLS, the referees started to announce their VAR decisions, and it was quickly adopted in both in the actual Copa America as well. So these sorts of things are going to start creeping in. Unfortunately, the US has a lot of pull through everything, whether it be sports or politics, whatever it may be. Basketball in the US is a completely different sport to where it is all over the world, and they're the best at it.
They play a World Series. It's only just for teams that are in America, so that says enough.
Unfortunately, these are the things that are going to start creeping in. And yes, 25 minutes for a half is horrendous. I mean, they've hosted Super Bowl after Super Bowl. I just don't understand how the pre-game antics can even be a thing.
I don't know. I've done a 15-minute halftime break and absolutely seized up. I can't imagine how Messi was feeling after 25 minutes of watching one of his best mates' exes perform.
Ankle injury pre-half, then cooling off for 25 minutes. No wonder he was cooked.
Yeah, it definitely can't help. So I just thought that was interesting to talk about before we get to the game. So, look, no real surprises in terms of the lineup. Lautaro was on the bench for Argentina. Alvarez started up front with Messi and Di Maria. Decent forward front three there. And I think they dropped McAllister a little bit deeper to sort of go one-on-one with James Rodriguez. So other than that, Colombia were missing Daniel Munoz, who got sent off in the semi-final, with Santiago Arias stepping into right back. Okay, other than that, yeah, it obviously went to extra time. Lautaro, as aforementioned, came off the bench to score the winner. 1-0 win for Argentina.
Terrible goalkeeping.
La Albiceleste winning to take the record away from Uruguay, now having 16 Copa Americas. So Uruguay were long the 15 Copa Americas, in front. Holders. And Argentina have won back-to-back to jump them, to overtake them. So a couple of key moments there, but any overall thoughts, I suppose, from the game before we dive right in?
Argentina, look, I think I predicted a 1-0 win. I may have even predicted a Lautaro Martinez winner. I'm not sure if I was that accurate.
116th minute.
We'll go back and we'll check this. Yeah, fact check.
I'll email the internet now.
9 out of 12.
They did what they do. They were the only team, I think, throughout the whole tournament who were able to nullify Colombia in the way that they did. Colombia still looked dangerous in patches, and if they had a little bit better finishing, like there could have been some more. Their biggest threat throughout the whole tournament was set pieces. James was waving that wand around, that left-footed wand on a dime, and
waving different wand. That's
what he does in Brazil too.
Like Caprinas in hand.
But I think Argentina, due to the fact that they were able to nullify, and I think that defensively they were phenomenal from set pieces all tournament. I've got down here.
5 clean sheets.
Are you going to say the greatest stat ever about their defensive stuff?
Not the greatest stat ever. Just the fact that they only conceded 1 goal the entire tournament.
Yeah, 5 clean sheets.
Which is a 91st minute equaliser by Ecuador that took them to penalties.
Under Scaloni, Argentina have not conceded from a corner. No headed goals from a corner. And they've had him for a couple of years. Like, that's pretty decent.
Yeah.
So to have that confidence there, I suppose.
Poor deliveries coming from the other teams, who knows?
All the time. So, look, there were plenty of chances. I thought Colombia were on top in the first half, but it's that old adage, you need to score when you're on top. When you have, they were dominating, creating chances. They didn't.
Looked hot over there,
but it looked hot, but there were so many delays. This player was down injured. That player was down injured. This happened. That happened. Especially after the game was already an hour and 10 minutes late.
Doesn't sound like the South America.
It definitely disrupted the flow. But I think that's probably what Argentina wanted. They probably didn't want Colombia to get too much in their rhythm because they knew their star man Messi was obviously carrying an injury, was struggling. So they wanted this game to be as slow as possible. But I thought McAllister did really well on top of James. He ended up getting booked in the 61st minute for absolutely clattering him. But yeah, Messi came off injured in the 66th minute. What did you guys think when that sub was made? Because I was like,
You can
the
see
talisman.
You can see him writhing in pain, but I think the person who came on for him had an absolute blinder.
That's what I've got down
Nico
here.
Gonzalez.
Nico Gonzalez was
Came on and changed the game.
Because everywhere.
Yeah, he was. The big chances fell to him now. It's one of those ones where if Messi was in those spots and they fell for him, would it be a different story? Maybe. But I think Nico Gonzalez really put himself... I think he kind of went, okay, you know what? I've had to come on here for the GOAT. I need to put in as big a goatish kind of performance that I can.
I think it changes the dynamic of that team because you've got another person that's going to work in defence.
For sure, and he did.
You know what I
frees
mean?
up DePaul a bit.
I think it frees up DePaul for,
Didn't he put a shift in again?
Yeah.
He almost got 4 lungs, I swear
The
to God.
tackle he made,
Eminem.
like he set that goal up.
Eminem.
Colombia were gone, and he made that tackle.
No, that was Paredes that made that tackle.
was it?
Paredes slid in.
There you go.
Paredes slid it. That was the other thing that I got written down here is that Scaloni's made a 3-man substitution.
Late, too, in the extra time, wasn't it?
Absolutely. All 3 come on, which was another Martinez, Lautaro Martinez, Lo Celso, and Paredes all come on. Now, Paredes slides to win back possession.
Plays a ball in
To
from
Lo
1-2.
Celso.
Plays the ball into Lo Celso, who plays his absolutely gorgeous first-time pass into the space for Lautaro Martinez to then carry through and
It was
score.
a good run from Martinez because when they won that challenge, it popped out to him.
Yeah.
And he laid it and just peeled.
Yes.
And you saw the centre-back rush out to Lo Celso, and as he was going, Lo Celso's just gone, and the centre-back's gone, oh no. The left-back's gone,
Opened it
why
up
have you
with a
left?
gorgeous ball, but tell you what, but there's a lot to be desired for that goalkeeper.
Who does he play
my
for?
days.
Tried to slot it, and it was like,
It's
here, and he
straight
moved
between
his
his
head.
hands, and it hit his head.
But he moved his head out of the way,
Yeah.
and then flapped at it, and it was like, just...
Grazed his head as it went through on the. And look, yeah, I mean, I'm not a goalkeeper by any means, but I think something that's coming like that, you would. I don't know whether it's lazy last couple of minutes, the whole situation, but he sort of dropped really, really early, and something that would be coming direct. I think that the norm would be to stand up and hold your position.
On a tight angle too, tightish angle.
Keepers always go down, and that's why they get dinked a lot there in those situations. So it's
But yeah,
interesting.
certainly interesting to see that. That's for sure.
The other thing, obviously, towards the end, and it was the end of the game was absolutely wild. So there was a few chances late, bit of a scramble, whatever, and Emi Martinez ended up with the ball, and he's obviously fallen on it, taken his time, whatever. And all the Colombian players ran to the referee and were blown up because they wanted a VAR to check. I think it was a handball. I'm not sure.
No, it was a clearance in the box, and the Argentinian keeper a player went to clear it, and actually the Colombian player got in front of him, and actually kicked him like up high on the inner thigh. So, and then that Colombian player obviously dropped like a sack of potatoes.
Boya.
And I've seen them given. And Emi Martinez was taking way too long to take that. If I was him, I would have gone,
Hurry up, move
get
on,
rid of that,
move on.
get that out of here, let's play on. Let's
But he was like talking to the ref, and then he had possession of the ball, and he's going, like trying to give it to the ref. I think to end the game, and the ref, I don't know, there might be a law around this, but if there's a VAR decision that's going to come after the full time whistle, don't blow full time.
Yeah.
Because imagine he blows full time, and then
he
they
gets
go,
he gets upstairs.
given a pen
You need to go look
in
at
the
that.
final. So there was this weird like 3 or 4 minute thing. And it was just like, what's going on? Everyone's arguing. In the end, it was an uncontested drop ball to Martinez, who picked it up, sent it.
I'll tell you one thing.
I've seen them given, mate. I've seen them given.
It was, yeah.
You'd hate to be the ref for those games. The blokes that are in between that, he's thrown himself in between 2 of the players, one of the Colombian blokes, and he was trying to fight. And then there's just all these blokes that would be chatter, and forgive me but all the Spanish, or I would say the South Americans, when they talk in their native tongue, that is rapid fire, bro. That would be coming out. And imagine hearing that from all these. You'd be going, I can turn this off.
Brazilian ref too.
You'd be wanting to walk away. It'd be like these guys are coming at you. They're throwing all these profanities around. You should be doing this. Make a call about this. I'd hate to think what would be going on. And imagine, for a person that obviously doesn't speak the language, seeing that, you'd hate to be the ref in the middle of it all. I tell you, to calm those heads down when they're fired up and they're Latino to begin with. No thanks.
I think they're still on fire.
It'd be a tough gig.
Yeah.
It'd be a tough gig.
So, look, it was one of those typical grand final games. It wasn't the most beautiful game. And like I said, there were just so many delays and so many interruptions that really slowed it down. But, look, I think you look at some of the stats. Colombia averaged 2 goals per game. So they were a great attacking force. Argentina conceded won, as Danny said, ended up with 5 clean sheets, 0.2 goals per game to concede. Like with
It was. I expected them to win. To be honest, I thought there was. I don't think there was any other shout that team was going to win. The way that they've gone about their business through the World Cup and consistently into this tournament, and you've got Messi on your team.
Look, there's big talks about the fact that it was every big team was brushed to one side for Argentina to make their way comfortably through to the final, and their biggest challenge came in the final. I mean, they were able to avoid Uruguay. They were able to avoid Brazil. They came up against an informed Colombia who, yes, just lost their 28-game unbeaten streak that they had. But I feel that a Brazil or Uruguay, no matter what form they're in, Brazil at the moment not playing at their top of their game, Uruguay arguably playing some of the best football they've played in a very long time. They come up against one of those two sides either in that final or in a semi-final before that.
Story.
And it's a completely different story. Not saying that they won't come out victorious, as they're world champions for a reason, because they get the job done against the best teams in the world. But they were given a nice free ride, in my opinion. I mean, the biggest challenge was Ecuador. Ecuador hasn't made a World Cup in, I don't know. I'm not even going to try and name a state, if ever, but a very long time. They're usually in the bottom 3 in South America.
It was funny watching some of the pre-game stuff, and they were talking about, on Optus Sport and interviewing a couple of people, and they had one of the guys that was on the panel, obviously from Argentina, and interviewing him.
He coaches South Melbourne.
Yeah, something about it, and they were obviously talking to him, and he was going, "Oh, Colombia, like, what have those guys won? Like, our biggest rivals against, like, as an Argentinian, is against Brazil. Like, playing against Colombia, show me their trophy cabinet. You know what I mean? Like, which is true, which is well and true. Like, what have they got to match? So it's just interesting hearing about that when, like, I didn't think that there was any threat from one of those guys being
Sorry, I just emailed the internet. Ecuador played at the last World Cup.
There you go. They make it out of the group, Bradley? Don't tell me they made it out of the group. There's no way they
got knocked out by Senegal in the group.
Knocked out.
Might as well not have turned up.
Fun. I mean, they'll probably make the next one too, because there's about 80 teams in the next World Cup as well, isn't there?
I think they're finishing the bottom 3 in South America. You make the World Cup. I think that's how many spots they've got for the next one. So, Lautaro ended with 5 goals, Golden Boot. Salomon Rondon finished second with 3 goals.
Shout out to Vinny for picking Lautaro somehow as
mostly off the bench. Interesting.
Off the bench. We laughed at him when he said Martinez because he was a benchy, but
I mean, Alvarez.
Well, Munoz finished 3rd in the Golden Boot. And he's a right back, so that was pretty wild as well. James got player of the tournament, 6 assists in 6 games, which is a tournament
Brad
record.
would have some stats about some goals as well.
Yeah, he killed that.
And Lautaro averaged 2 goals per 90 minutes.
Wow.
So
crazy,
pretty good.
Yeah.
He's been killing it for Inter as well.
Yeah. Messi created 7 big chances, top of the tournament. Savio, who's about to head to Man City, was the top dribbler, 9.2 dribbles per 90 minutes. He doubled the guy that came second.
Wow.
So
loves
he's
it also means that he just doesn't pass the ball.
That's true as well. I think they're completed dribbles, to be fair. Darwin missed 6 big chances, only 1 behind Oluwasi from Canada.
Is that including the ones when he was in the stands?
Oh no, that'd be triple. when he got whack-a-mole.
Triple that stat.
He got whack-a-mole
from the priest. Martinez had 5 clean sheets. Vargas and Roche from Uruguay there had 3 each as well. Martinez 92.9% save percentage.
Wow.
So
and his penalty for Argentina, his saved penalty statistic is at 50%.
That's wild.
I mean, most keepers
rogue.
most keepers would be lucky to have a 5% percentage saved.
Lucky to save anything.
So penalties against 50% is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
You almost go to pens on purpose knowing he's got you covered.
Yeah. Do you have any other stats there, Brad?
The only player I want to talk about, this Jean Arambaru from...
Arambaru.
21 years old.
He was across a lot of stats.
Yeah, he's got the best rating on FOTMob, 21. I know that's maybe a player to look out for coming out of the tournament.
What about the goals between the two?
Oh, yeah, so that's right. So, look, different number of games. I think there was 51 games in the Euros. So, in the Euros, there was 117 goals in the Euros, so which is 2.29 goals per game. And in the Copa, there was 70 goals in only, I think, 32 games. So, it's 2.19. So, close stats there. Where normally it's the Copa's boring. The Euros score more goals. The Euros had 142 goals compared to 117 in the last tournament. So that does show. Wasn't
Pretty
exciting this
crazy,
time,
right?
this
You always think of the South American, or sorry, I should say the Americas, as having that real sort of free-flowing sort of style of football, that there's going to be more goals, it's going to be a bit more creative. But also as well, like, is that a testament to the defensive duties of what people are doing now?
Yeah, I think as well, in South America, over 90 minutes, the ball's only in for probably 30 of them. So I haven't got that long to score because they're always on the floor. So I got two questions for us. Danny, I'm going to throw to you. Is that the last time we see Messi in a major tournament?
Hope not.
Look, the short answer I think is no. I think that he'll continue. There was rumours that he was prolonging his announcement of retirement from whether it be Copa America or from international duties because he didn't want to take the limelight away from Di Maria. So that could still come in the fact that he might announce it after the dust is settled for Di Maria's retirement. But I don't think so. I think that he's got one more. Whether or not it is a key role or a role in a World Cup for the rest of his squad, I think Scaloni's come out and said, regardless of the role that Messi plays at the next tournament, he will be there. Whether that means it is as a player who starts, as a player who comes off the bench, as a player who's part of the squad, or as an assistant, I'm not sure. So.
Certainly want him around regardless, that's for sure. But I'd love to see him at another major tournament. I'd love to see him make it to another World Cup. Just the aura that he brings, and especially being over in the Americas around that, I think he'd certainly want to be a part of it. And if he can, depending on what his body will do.
Brad brought that up with Ronaldo. Like they'll probably want to get those two guys there.
They both have to be there.
I think that was part of the big plan for Messi in that
going to Inter Miami.
Going to Inter Miami. I think David Beckham would be asking him politely to please make it to then. So.
I'd speak to his right ankle. So this obviously sets up La Finalissima between Argentina and Spain. And the big one there is Messi v Yamal, past versus future. What are our thoughts there? I don't know where this will happen, probably in Saudi Arabia or somewhere.
It's like the best attacking team lately versus the best defensive team, it sounds like. So.
Let's get some bold predictions then. Let's say if this game was to happen, both teams full strength next week.
Yep. Okay, so Messi's fit.
Argentina. At the moment,
really,
the what they do and the way that they play and the way that they work, I don't think a team can match them at the moment in what they do.
So what would you? Okay, look. So what would you pick the scoreline to be if you're going with that? What's the score?
I think it's a 2-1.
It's a 2-1.
2-1 Argentina. Nothing crazy. I just think that Argentina defensively are disciplined enough and are more disciplined than any of the sides that they've come up against this Euro to nullify what Spain has.
Look, I think, look at the left and right backs. They're probably two of the weaker players for Argentina. They're both like over 30. I don't know. The way Nico Williams and Yamal played.
Listen, I had Tagliafico down here in a Copa 11. I think it was an outstanding player the whole way.
I agree with Brad. I think their weakness lies in those outside defenders. And I reckon Spain get the job done 2-0 easy.
Wow.
I think Argentina. I know I set the parameters as right now, blah blah, but I do think they're at the end of the cycle. You can Messi, Di Maria, those guys they're at the end. They're not the same force they were even 2 years ago.
I agree.
So I would just think Spain would just have too much of that ball.
Too much of the legs. I think you come down to a bit of a youthful experience, and I'm not dismissing anything that you've said in regards to that because you look at Argentina's record, it speaks for themselves, right?
Yeah.
But I believe with that youthful exuberance coming up against an aging sort of transitional squad, I don't see that the players that are getting brought on into the Argentina team creating much of a difference as comparison to what they got for Spain with that. So I'm actually really looking forward to seeing this.
I got 2-1 Spain.
I mean, I'm looking at the Argentina squad at the moment, and the guys that are playing, especially with your two centre backs, they've got Romero and Martinez who are absolute monsters.
Class.
At 26.
Correct.
Yep.
Class.
They've got another World Cup in them.
Another World Cup in their prime.
Yeah.
Not denying that.
McAllister.
Yeah.
He's at 25. Fernandez is even younger than him. He's at 23. DePaul is the only older one there, but he's 30. But he'll still run. He'll still run for for 4 more years straight if you ask him to.
Lautaro Martinez.
He's only young, man.
I think he's 25.
25.
Lautaro Martinez is only 26.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the bulk of
And
this...
Alvarez is young too.
I mean, Alvarez is
What
a
about
kid.
And Nico
Garnacho?
Gonzalez. Well, Garnacho's in a bit of trouble
But
because
what happened? Did he have a falling out or something?
yeah, well, they reckon that. Look, if you believe what you read, there's a lot of dramas there about what he's come out and publicly said about supporting Ronaldo and not being a fan of Messi.
Yeah,
so
that's
they're releasing,
but
they're releasing photos of him sort of walking on his own with Messi and co in front, like things like that. But you just don't know.
Mate, everyone's allowed to have their fans, and if he idolises that someone that he's at Man United, of course.
different over there, man.
Of course he's going to be friends with Messi, or he's going to idolise Messi at some point. Jesus Christ! I mean, he plays in the national team with him.
Yeah, why not both?
Yes,
So that's what they're saying because he's coming out and just saying.
¿Por qué no los dos?
No,
Not a-
he,
not a
he has
Messi fan.
he has come out. He has come out on like and tweeted stuff like playing with the GOAT when Ronaldo was back there and he was just coming up in the ranks, and then he'd have Argentinian teammates comment on that tweet saying, "You haven't played with the GOAT yet," because he hadn't got a call up to the full time national team. So it was already
Watch
a
his
little bit off
space.
the wrong foot. But I mean, he doesn't get into that side yet, just yet. There's some
But I'm saying for the future, you think it's
Well,
maybe
Messi out, probably Garnacho
Alvarez, Martinez, Garnacho?
Certainly interesting. I think that's going to be a really good game.
All right, Danny, do you want to walk us through? Danny's on a little bit of a 11 for the Copa, and then we'll wrap it up.
The team that I've gone through, I whipped it up pretty quickly. It has controversially got 3 Martinez's in the squad, but there's no bias at all to the fact that I'm a Martinez. But none of them are Uruguayan actually. But
To the mic.
we've got Martinez in goal, Emi Martinez, who did win Golden Glove. I have got my 2 centre backs as the 2 I just mentioned, Romero and Martinez, because they were
Immense.
ridiculous.
Yep.
I mean,
Can't
when
argue
you
that.
when you only concede 1 goal the entire tournament, it comes down to the guy between the sticks and there's 2 guys in front of him, and they were animals.
Every game.
Every single game. Tagliafico, I've got him at left back. I've got the Uruguayan Nathan Nandez at right back. I think he was unreal. He did get a red card in one of the games, so
They missed him that.
they missed him big time, as well as the fact that Araujo was injured as well. Before that, they didn't have a direct replacement for him, but he was definitely missed. My centre midfield, controversially, doesn't have any Argentinians in it. As much as I think that they were dominant and fantastic in terms of the way that they win the ball in there, I'd never picture the current Argentinian team as a team that plays pretty football that has a midfield that dominates, and that's kind of what I judge my midfields on. So I've gone with more of a Ugarte as my holding, who has been fantastic. He was probably Uruguay's best player, quickly followed by the other guy in there with him, who I think is probably one of the best midfielders in the world, Valverde. And then I've got James Rodriguez as a 10 in that team.
Done.
That's pretty strong.
And then across the front, I've got a controversial one. I've actually got a Canadian player, Schaffelberg, who...
Is that the blonde guy?
Yeah, he was unreal.
He's good.
I never heard of him before this
Fairly
tournament. Every single time I watched him, he was great. I actually haven't got Messi in this side, guys.
I like the 8 from Canada, Kone.
Kone, I liked him as well. He was
Played
a
a ball in
notable
midfield.
mention for my
Yeah.
midfield team, but he's not
Okay,
getting
good.
in there in front of those.
Who's
Those
this
three.
Schaffelberg playing for?
No, he's good, man. You should watch him, eh? Like he's.
I mean, he is currently sitting in Messi's position, which is controversial. But just
Wow.
that Messi had.
Can you get it into a reel? Schaffelberg
Over Messi. Yep.
I mean, you would never have thought I'd say that, but look, Messi scored 1 goal. It wasn't even really a good one. He didn't have a strong tournament. He had a bunch of blokes around him that,
Missed a lot of
Created the most
Yeah.
big chances in the tournament.
which he should do. I think that.
Schaffelberg
Expect him
from-
to do that.
Nashville Soccer Club.
There you go. Big moves for Schaffelberg. You heard it here first on the potty.
Yep. Who else you got?
Diaz
Oh, yep.
was unreal for Colombia,
He was.
Liverpool players playing some good footy.
and then Lautaro Martinez at the top.
That's,
Yeah, I think that's
not a bad
fair.
squad.
That's where I've gone
Okay,
with.
that's very fair.
We'll go with the teams of the tournament versus one another, and then we'll see what happens on
Might
that
need
pod.
to
Hey,
do that.
That'd be
Might need to
good.
do that.
See what
We'll have to come
happens.
back.
Yeah,
Done.
Cool. Anything else you want to add for the Copa?
Nothing else here from me.
nothing else from me, mate.
Nah, let's see what America can do with the World Cup coming up, and hopefully it's improvements. Maybe Bielsa's outburst has done it some good.
I hope so, because I would really like to get over to that World Cup. And yeah, I think
Bielsa
not
asking
getting there.
for.
we're not getting there. We'll see how it happens.
Is he asking for it to be change of season. He looked a bit sweaty in the dugout the other
Third place playoff game.
That
I don't know who
that
dressed
esky
him.
would have been dripping wet, bro.
I don't know who dressed him. But
t-shirt.
his shirt was all over the place.
White t-shirt.
I
So,
could see way too much nip. I think it's no good.
all right, that's enough about El Loco. I love him. All right.
Oh, don't
right,
hurt
well,
Simo's feelings,
Boys, just on that, I would like to thank you guys for this. Is the last episode that we've done. Thank you so much for
for
coming
having
and
us.
spending your time here. Appreciate your insights. Appreciate I suppose the humour that we've attacked this with, but also a lot of moments of real sort of genuine footballing interest and now I suppose from you three. So thank you guys so much.
Thanks
I do
for having
appreciate
us.
it.
Pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, gents.
Lovely. So that brings us to the end, football fans. Thank you so much for joining us here. I hope you enjoyed our little mini Copa America wrap episode. As always, please make sure you are following us on Instagram, liking, sharing our content, and also subscribing to us on YouTube and Spotify. Thank you for choosing to score some goals with us. And as always, remember to celebrate with the corner flag.